you all for coming. I need to apologize ahead of time. I flew back from Michigan and got a sinus infection, and it's still working its way through. So every now and then my voice might crack. It's not puberty, it's just things working its way through. I have the great honor of talking about oppositional defiance disorder, chronic disorder, and try and do that in about 40 minutes. In addition, talk about ecological approaches. The task is not going to be easy. I might go through some of these slides fairly rapidly. If you have any questions, feel free to stop me, and I'm going to try and make sure that I have time, as long as Andrew among members to prompt me, to take questions at the end. All right, my background is I got my degrees in family therapy at the University of Florida. I'm a Gator fan. I know these aren't a big fan of that. I've been working with children and adolescents for my entire career, and I got involved with multi-systemic therapy roughly 9 years ago. I started out as a clinician and became a supervisor, and then got an opportunity to go to New Zealand and become a program clinical director for all the programs running in New Zealand, which is how you get that great international expert. You do presentations in New Zealand, Australia, there you go, you're now an expert everywhere. I came to the university roughly 4 years ago, and my role is in dissemination of evidence-based practices. Multi-systemic is one, family integrated transitions is another. So we're going to get going. Has anyone here not seen this slide? Anyone recognize this quote? So a lot of people haven't. Anyone have any guesses? When would this quote been written? Any ideas? 100 years ago? Can you show hands? 20 years ago? So Socrates, back in the day. So the problems that we're talking about kind of our youth and disruptive behaviors. It's not anything that's unique. It's interesting just to see that the same problems that we're having have been the problems that have been happening for centuries. I was in New Zealand, the same problems are happening there. I was in Montana. I mean, problems across time. So we're going to talk a little bit about this disruptive disorder, oppositional defiant disorder, conduct disorder, and basically these diagnoses, these disorders, are a little different than many because they're characterized by antisocial behavior. We have a couple cartoon interludes. Everyone read this? I'm not going to go to bed. I don't have to do what you say. I can do anything I want. Enjoy this while you can. I'll be a whole curly teenager before you know it. So it's a little different, and Bob's going to be talking about working with the younger children in 2 months roughly. But for adolescents, it's a lot more challenging how to deal with the problems when these kids are tantruming, having their problems acting out. We're talking about oppositional defiant disorder, recurrent pattern of negativistic, defiant, disobedient, hostile behavior towards authority figures. Temper tantrums, arguing, defiance, non-compliance, externalizing blame, vindictiveness, adolescence. A lot of behaviors that are happening. The DSM says that we need to have 4 more of the following over 6 months: losing temper, arguing, actively defying, deliberately doing things to annoy people, breaking things, being touchy, being moody, being angry, resentful, spiteful, etc. Conduct disorder, on the other hand, is kind of the next level. It's basically a repetitive and persistent pattern of behavior where the basic rights of others are being violated. Things like aggressive behavior, behavior that causes loss of property, deceitfulness or theft, and other serious rule violations. These are just out of DSM, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time. Basically, aggression, things like starting fights, bullying, physical cruelty to animals, or sex, some real extreme things. Property destruction, setting fires, maliciousness, lying and breaking and entering, theft, stealing valuables, and then these serious violations such as staying out overnight, running away, truancy, etc. So when we're talking about this oppositional defiant, this conduct disorder, it's a lot of these behaviors that end up impacting not just the youth, but really impacting society as a whole. It's a collection of behaviors, that end up affecting society. And as such, it's really hard to figure out how you can intervene with one track because there is no solution. There are numerous ideas about why these behaviors occur, whether it be learned behavior, whether there is chemical reasons, whether there's genetic reasons. And we don't have time to go into all those details. Let's just say that these behaviors do exist, and up until now, there is no one way, that there's no pill to give a child, there's no one intervention intervention that's going to work to fix these problems. What we do know is that it can be very challenging. So when we're talking about working with problem behaviors and problem adolescents, what would you do if you're working with a 15-year-old who's refusing to go to school? Has anyone worked with a 15-year-old? Okay, so you're nodding. So you got some ideas. Just even those of you that haven't worked, you probably have some ideas. If the kid's not going to school, I'm just going to drive him to school and take him there. You know, I'm going to have his parents drive him and take him to school. I'll give him a consequence if he doesn't go. So we got a 15-year-old now, and we go to school and you find out because it's due to bullying. Well, that's a whole different tact. We need to do something completely different. Not going to school because it's not bullying, but I got to stay home because I got to watch my little brother because my mom's got to work. Well, that's a whole different idea, intervention. You know, he's not going to school because he's dealing drugs. He's afraid of getting robbed, afraid of, you know, someone retaliating for moving on his territory. Whole different idea. Not going to school because he's not getting up in the morning. Well, that's something completely different. Or he's not getting up because he's playing video games in the middle of the night. Well, that's a whole different idea. Not getting up because his parents are partying till 3 in the morning. Well, God, that's a whole different idea. So how are we going to work when we're dealing with these problems? We're talking about, you know, school refusal, truancy, when the reality is we don't really know when a kid says they're truant, what does that really mean? What does that look like? We do know that there are some treatments that tend to work more effectively for that adolescent population. The 3 that lead the pack, according to Blueprints for Violence Prevention and numerous others, are these functional family therapy, multidimensional treatment foster care, and multidisciplinary therapy. And one of the things that is different about these approaches is all 3 emphasize working with either the family or caregivers. So when looking at how to work most effectively with these kids, it's not the kid that is as important as making sure that you're working with all these other pieces, the systems around that youth, the family, the caregivers. What usually happens when a kid's getting in trouble? Well, traditional treatment, when a kid gets in trouble and gets into more trouble, is they usually get sent to treatment. They get sent somewhere at an extreme level. They're going into a residential program, they're getting sent to some sort of program, specialized school, etc. What happens when they get to these programs? Who are they around? All these other kids that are in the same sorts of circumstances. What are they teaching each other? You know, they're not teaching each other, you know, how to cross the street and how to be a better Boy Scout. They're teaching each other the ways they got in trouble, sometimes ways to work the system, etc. So when they come out, they get home. What's different at home? We spend all of our energy putting this kid into some program, and really nothing's happened in the ecology at home. So we find that no changes happen at home, and even if this kid learns something, a particular skill, they go right back to doing exactly what they were doing. Even in the center, they had the best of intentions. They can tell you exactly what their plan is, what to do. When they come back out, reality is you're going to fall back into what you're used to doing because you don't have any other options. It's hard to stay away when no one here knows what your plan is. So one of the ideas is rather than focusing on the individual, we're going to look at an ecological approach. And a gentleman by the name of Bonkenbrunner looked at and designed this social ecological model, which basically says that the youth is a part of a larger system, the family, which is part of this larger peer group, which is part of the school, which is part of the community.